All right, getting ready for an interview as an international forwarding operations coordinator. It's a big deal. We're going to take a deep dive with RoleCatcher's resources.
Mhm.
We're going to try to help you just ace this interview.
It's kind of like having a cheat sheet, right? For the global shipping game.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, like, what does this role even mean? Like, what do you really do?
Yeah, so think of this role. It's like you're the conductor of an orchestra, but instead of musicians, you're coordinating all those shipments all across international borders.
Like that analogy.
Yeah, it's fast-paced, it can be demanding, but the payoff is it's huge. You get to be a master of logistics, problem solving, and you build global connections.
That sounds pretty cool.
It is. It is.
Okay, so let's unpack some of the interview questions you might get. Like, what are some of the tricky ones you run into?
So the first one that comes to mind is, what experience do you have in international forwarding operations?
Okay, so like, what if you haven't actually done that exact job before?
Exactly. And a lot of people, maybe haven't had a role that's a perfect match, but think about, even if it's not a perfect match, have you tackled similar challenges? Have you managed complex projects? Have you coordinated lots of different people, or navigated tricky situations?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have literally shipped something across the ocean before.
Hmm.
But I feel like everybody's probably done some kind of logistics, like maybe organized a big event or a volunteer effort,
Absolutely.
or even just like managed a really complicated schedule. Like those are all kind of the same skills.
Those are all transferable skills.
Yeah.
And that's where, that's where RoleCatcher's AI can really help, because it can look at your resume and it can look at that job description and it can kind of help you pull out those hidden gems.
It's like a skill detective.
Exactly. It helps connect the dots. It helps you say, oh, yeah, I actually did do something like that, even if you didn't realize that was what they were asking about.
Yeah, I could see that being really helpful. Okay, so what's another question they might ask?
So another question that you might run into is, how do you ensure compliance with international regulations and customs requirements?
Okay, that sounds kind of intimidating.
Yeah. It can be a complex world.
Yeah, to be like a lawyer or something.
Right, yeah. But, the interviewer is really just wanting to see if you understand, how important compliance is and that you're willing to learn and stay updated.
So it's more about showing that you want to learn and keep up with things.
Exactly. You don't necessarily need to know every regulation off the top of your head, right? But you can mention RoleCatcher's resources, like their career guides and their interview guides, as ways to stay informed about the latest regulations. So that shows them you're proactive.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah.
Okay. What about a question where they ask for like a story, like something specific you did?
Yeah. So one of those questions would be, can you give an example of a time when you had to resolve a shipment issue?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is probably where those like transferable skills would really come in handy.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is your chance to really shine, right? So remember the STAR method, situation, task, action, and result.
Okay.
So you're really going to paint a vivid picture of the challenge, the steps you took, and the positive outcome you achieved.
So instead of just being like, oh, I'm good at solving problems, you give them like an actual story of how you solved a problem.
Exactly. And that could come from any part of your life, not just work experience.
Right.
But, think about a time you had to think on your feet, maybe make a really tough decision, or, go above and beyond to get things back on track.
And I feel like this is where those, the examples in RoleCatcher would be really helpful, right?
Absolutely. They have a whole library of real life examples, and it's
Yeah.
not about copying their answers, but it's kind of seeing how other successful candidates have structured their responses.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of plug in your own story.
Okay, cool. All right, so what's another question?
All right, so this one's kind of about juggling. So, how do you manage multiple shipments and prioritize tasks?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a pretty busy job.
Yeah.
Lots going on.
It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
So the interviewer wants to know how do you handle pressure? How do you stay organized? And how do you make sure that everything's running smoothly?
Even when things get crazy.
Especially when things get crazy.
Yeah.
So think about the systems you use, to stay on top of things.
Right.
Do you have a way you prioritize tasks?
Yeah.
Do you have a system for breaking down big projects or keeping track of deadlines?
Like color-coded spreadsheets.
Exactly.
To-do lists.
Yeah.
A whiteboard.
All that.
Yeah.
Share those strategies and give them concrete examples. And the more specific you are, the better they can kind of picture you in action.
Right. And this is another place where the AI from RoleCatcher could give you some feedback.
Right.
Like it can help you come up with like stronger examples or like, highlight certain keywords
Yeah.
that'll like really jump out at the person who's interviewing you.
Exactly. You can think of it as a personal editor for your interview answers.
I like
so
that.
it can really make them clear and impactful.
Cool. Okay, what about communication? Like because you're obviously dealing with people all over the place.
Yeah, so how do you ensure communication between all the parties involved in a shipment?
Yeah. Because there's like the people you're shipping from, the people you're shipping to.
It's like a relay race.
Yeah, customs, all this stuff.
Yeah, you've got suppliers, you've got carriers, you've got customs agents, clients. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
So the interviewer really wants to see, how do you keep everybody in the loop?
Yeah.
And how do you make sure things are running smoothly?
Okay. So
Yeah.
obviously strong communication skills are like super important.
Yeah.
But how do you go beyond just saying that?
Think about all the different ways that you communicate. Like, do you use email?
Uh-huh.
Do you use phone calls?
Uh-huh.
Video conferencing?
Yeah.
And how do you adapt your approach to all those different audiences?
Right. Because you can't talk to everybody the same.
Exactly.
Some people need more details. Some people don't want as many.
Right. Do you have, a system for tracking your communication,
Uh-huh.
documenting decisions, or resolving misunderstandings?
Yeah. So it's more about showing like your communication toolbox,
Exactly.
all the different things that you do and how you use them well.
Right. And then again, like real life examples are really helpful here.
Right.
Maybe you had to resolve a communication breakdown, or maybe you prevented a potential delay because you were so good at communicating, or just, proactively kept everyone informed.
Yeah. So you're not just telling them that you're a good communicator. You're showing them.
Yeah. You're showing them
Exactly.
with stories.
With stories. Okay. Cool. All right. So what's next?
All right. Let's talk about paperwork. So, what experience do you have with shipping documentation?
Ooh, yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah, this is where you need to be super organized, detail-oriented, because it's a really crucial part of international forwarding. And the interviewer wants to know if you're familiar with, all those different types of documents, those bills of lading, commercial invoices, packing lists, certificates of origin, all that, and whether you really understand how important they are.
I feel like even if I didn't know all of those things, I would at least know that paperwork is important.
Yes. Yeah. So even if you don't have, direct experience with every single document, it's helpful to at least have an understanding of, how that process works.
Yeah, like you've got to have invoices, you've got to keep track of where things are going.
Right.
You mean anything.
And, you can mention any experience you have, even if it's from a related field. Like, maybe you've had to prepare invoices before, or review contracts or organize really important files. It's really about showing that you understand, accuracy, completeness, and compliance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is probably another place where RoleCatcher stuff would be helpful.
Yeah.
Like if you're not quite sure about the specifics of all those documents.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like having a cheat sheet, right, for shipping documentation, so it can refresh your memory on all those key documents and give you some insights into, how to do it the best way.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being helpful. Okay, so what about timeliness? Like making sure things get where they're going when they're supposed to.
All right. So how do you ensure shipments are delivered on time?
Yeah, because stuff happens, right? Like, especially when you're dealing with, boats and planes and things going all over the world.
Exactly. International shipping, it's rarely a smooth journey. There are going to be delays. So the interviewer wants to know, like, how do you plan ahead? How do you mitigate those risks?
Okay, so it's not just about tracking the shipment. It's about, like, thinking ahead, being like, okay, what if this happens?
Exactly. So you can talk about, the systems you use to monitor shipments, like tracking software, regular communication with carriers, but also, highlight your ability to think on your feet, and find those find those creative solutions when unexpected things happen, because
Right.
they always do.
Yeah.
So, this might be another good opportunity to mention RoleCatcher's AI, because it
Hmm.
can help you kind of brainstorm, like, what are the potential challenges here?
Hmm.
And how do you come up with, solutions that nobody's thought of before?
Yeah, like it's like having a brainstorming partner, but one that really knows all about international forwarding. Yeah. Okay. What about like managing vendors? Because you're obviously dealing with all kinds of different companies.
How do you manage vendor relationships?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is it's essential.
Right.
International forwarding really relies on all these different people, the carriers, rate forwarders, customs brokers, all these different vendors. So the interviewer wants to know, okay, do you have those interpersonal skills to build and nurture all these relationships?
Rick?
Because you have to be able to work with these people.
Yeah. So it's more than just like negotiating contracts.
Right.
It's about like building like an actual relationship.
Exactly. It's about trust. It's about mutual respect, and it's about feeling like you're partners.
Okay.
So, talk about your communication style, talk about your approach to resolving conflicts, and talk about your ability to find those win-win solutions, where everybody benefits.
Right.
And I'm guessing stories are important here too.
Yeah. Probably like, times when you had to like negotiate a tough contract or maybe resolve a dispute with a vendor or, just go the extra mile to build a relationship.
Exactly. All those are great examples.
Okay, cool. All right. So what about international trade compliance?
What experience do you have with international trade compliance?
Okay. That sounds pretty intense. Like that's a whole world unto itself, right?
It is a complex area, but, it's important not to be intimidated.
Okay.
The interviewer just wants to see if you understand the basics. Do you understand import and export regulations? Do you understand sanctions, tariffs, all these compliance requirements?
So like if I was getting ready for this interview, I would definitely make sure to like brush up on all that stuff.
Absolutely. And if you don't have experience in a certain area, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just be honest. If you're unfamiliar with a certain regulation, acknowledge it, but emphasize your willingness to learn and to stay updated.
So like I could even say like, hey, I'm using RoleCatcher stuff to make sure I'm like, up to date on all the latest.
Absolutely. That shows that you're committed to continuous learning.
Yeah.
Because these things are always changing.
Right.
So you want to make sure you're keeping up.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about like individual skills,
Right.
but this job also involves like managing other people.
Yeah. So how do you manage and develop a team of operations coordinators?
And even if I've never like officially been a manager before,
Right.
I can still show that I have leadership skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leadership isn't about your job title.
Right.
It's about, how you approach teamwork, how you approach collaboration. So think about the things that make a good leader, right? Communication, delegation, feedback, mentorship. Share some examples of how you've done that.
Okay.
Even if it was just working with peers,
Yeah, like even if you've never officially been the boss, you've probably been in situations where you had to like take charge.
Exactly. So maybe you, took the initiative on a group project, or you helped a coworker learn a new skill, or maybe you, stepped up to resolve a conflict. All those are great examples of leadership.
And I could see how RoleCatcher's AI would be really helpful here.
Yes.
Because it can help you like connect those skills to what the company's looking for.
It can analyze the job description, what are the specific leadership things that they're looking for,
Okay.
and then you can tailor your answers, to highlight those things. So it's like having a personal leadership coach right in your pocket.
Cool. Okay, so we've gone over a lot of questions here.
Yeah, we have.
What else should people be prepared for?
So I know we've covered a lot of ground, but there's one more crucial question, one that really tests your problem-solving skills and your ability to, to think on your feet.
Okay, hit me with it.
Are you ready for this one?
Bring it on. I'm
Bring it
feeling
on.
more confident already just from going through all this.
So good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, hit me with it. What's this challenging problem-solving question they might ask?
All right, so imagine this. You have a shipment that's scheduled to depart tomorrow, but you just got a notification that there's a major port strike at the destination. What do you do?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this question, it's not really about having the right answer.
Okay.
It's more about how you think. So they want to see, can you think critically? Can you assess the situation? And can you come up with a plan?
So it's like, how would I handle that pressure?
Exactly. So first, take a deep breath.
Okay.
It's a stressful scenario, but they want to see you stay calm.
Right.
So first, acknowledge the situation. You say, okay, there's a port strike. This is what that means.
Right.
Talk about the potential impact.
Like shipments are going to be delayed.
Yeah, shipments are going to be delayed. Could be increased costs.
Oh.
It could disrupt the client's operation.
Right. Yeah, big problem.
Yeah, big problem. So then, now it's time to, brainstorm solutions.
Okay.
This is where you get to show off your problem-solving skills and your knowledge of international forwarding.
Okay.
So you could say, okay, well, could we reroute the shipment? Could we go through a different port? Could we negotiate with the carrier, to see if there are other transportation options?
Right.
Could we maybe put it in storage for a little bit until the strike is over?
Okay.
There's a lot of different things you could think about.
Yeah. So then how do I pick which one's the best?
So you're going to weigh the pros and cons of each option.
Okay.
Thinking about things like the cost, the time, how quickly does it need to get there, and what does the client actually need?
Right.
So explain your reasoning and show that you're considering all those different angles.
And what if, I honestly don't know the answer right away?
It's okay to say, I need more information. You could say something like, I would need to contact the carrier and the port authorities, to see how bad is this strike? How long is it going to last?
Okay.
And then I would look at those alternative routing options, compare costs, compare the transit times, and figure out what's the most efficient way to do this.
Right. Because you're not just giving up. You're showing that you're going to take action.
Exactly. You're proactive and you're resourceful.
Okay, I like that. And I could see how practicing with RoleCatcher's AI would be really helpful for this kind of question.
Absolutely, because they can simulate those real-world scenarios and give you feedback on your responses.
Yeah.
And that can help you refine those problem-solving skills.
Okay.
And make you feel more confident.
It's like having a mock interview.
Exactly. Yeah, a virtual mock interview
Yeah.
where you can try different things and get some expert feedback.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how to answer these really specific questions. But I want to zoom out for a second and think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
Where can this job take you? What kind of career paths can you follow from here?
So you mentioned earlier that this role can be a stepping stone to all these different things.
Absolutely. So one of the coolest things about this role is it's got so much potential for growth.
Okay.
As you gain experience, you get better at what you're doing, you could specialize in a certain area of international forwarding.
So if somebody's really into navigating all those international trade regulations, they could become a compliance expert.
Yeah, exactly. Or if they love logistics, figuring out how to get things from point A to point B as efficiently as possible, they could go into supply chain management.
Okay.
There's tons of options.
So there's a lot of room for growth.
Yeah.
What about leadership opportunities?
Oh, yeah. So as you get better at managing those complex operations, you could definitely move into a management role.
Okay.
You could be leading a team of forwarding coordinators.
That's great. So you mentioned certifications before. Can you tell me a little bit more about those?
Yeah. So certifications like the CITP, which is Certified International Trade Professional, or the CSCP, which is Certified Supply Chain Professional, those are really valuable.
Okay.
Because they show that you're serious about this. You're not just doing the job. You're really learning, you're developing your expertise, and that can make you a lot more competitive in the job market.
So it's not just about getting that first job. It's about continuing to learn and improve throughout your career.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And RoleCatcher actually has a career compass feature that can help you figure out which certifications would be best for you.
Oh, wow.
So that's really cool. Okay, so before we jump into our last set of questions, I'm curious. From your experience, what are some of the mistakes people make in these interviews?
That's a good question. I would say one of the biggest mistakes is not doing enough research.
Okay.
You really need to understand the company, what they do, how this role fits into their overall strategy.
Yeah, look, it's not enough to just know the job description. You need to really understand the company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another mistake I see a lot is people focus too much on those technical skills and they forget about the soft skills.
Right.
Because this job involves a ton of communication, collaboration, problem solving.
Right. So you got to be able to work with people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need to show off those interpersonal skills just as much as your technical skills.
Right. So it's all about finding that balance.
Exactly. And then the final mistake I see is, people not asking questions at the end of the interview.
Oh, right.
It's your chance to show that you're curious, you're engaged.
Yeah.
You want to learn more about the company.
Like, it shouldn't just be them asking you questions.
Exactly. It should be conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm ready to tackle those final interview questions now.
All right. Let's dive in.
These feet are strong.
Let's do it.
All right, lay those final questions on me. What do we got?
Okay, so let's start with one that really tests your adaptability. Tell me about a time you had to adapt to a change in plans or a new situation. This is all about showing you can be flexible.
Okay.
And adjust to the unexpected, which happens all the time in international forwarding.
Yeah, it's got to be a pretty unpredictable field.
Oh, yeah. So they want to know, can you think on your feet? Can you come up with solutions even when things don't go according to plan?
Okay, so what kind of stories would work well for this question?
Think about a time when maybe a project changed all of a sudden. Or a deadline got moved up. Or you had to, handle a last-minute request. How did you approach it? What steps did you take? What did you learn?
And I'm guessing, the more specific, the better.
Oh, yeah. You got to give those real-life examples. So instead of just saying, I'm adaptable, paint a picture. Maybe you had to reroute a shipment because something happened. Or you had to find a missing document, right away. Or you had to, learn a new software system super fast because everything changed.
Yeah. Because that's what shows them you can actually handle those situations.
Exactly. It shows you can thrive, even when things are crazy. Okay, so now let's move on to a question that's about why you want this job. Why are you interested in this position at our company?
Okay.
So this is where all that research you did comes in.
Right, because I got to show them, why I actually want to work there.
Exactly. So highlight things about their culture, their values, their mission, the things that, really resonate with you.
Okay.
Mention specific projects, initiatives, areas of expertise that you think are interesting.
So, if they're really big on sustainability, I could talk about how I'm interested in green logistics. Okay.
Or, if they're known for working in a specific region or a specific industry and that's something you have experience in, mention that.
So it's about making it personal, showing them that I've, actually thought about what it would be like to work there.
Exactly. You're showing them that your skills and experiences actually match up with their goals.
Gotcha. And this is another place where RoleCatcher's AI could help, right? Finding those things that really matter to the company.
Oh, yeah. It's like having a personal branding expert.
So cool.
Helping you craft that perfect message.
It's okay, I like that.
Okay, last question. And it's the one everybody gets nervous about.
Oh.
What are your salary expectations?
Yeah. I never know what to say to that one.
I know. It can be intimidating, but it's a two-way street. They want to know if what you want matches up with what they can pay, and you want to make sure you're being paid fairly.
Okay. So how do I figure that out? How do I know what to ask for?
You got to do your research.
Yeah.
So look at resources RoleCatcher has salary insights that can tell you the average salary for similar roles in your area.
Okay.
Think about your experience. Think about your qualifications. Think about those special skills you have.
So, if I have certifications, I could ask for more.
Exactly. Or if you have experience in a specific niche, that could be worth more too. And don't be afraid to show that you're flexible.
Okay.
You could say something like, I'm looking for something in the range of X to Y, but I'm open to talking more about it, depending on the benefits, the whole package.
Right. That sounds a lot better than just throwing out a number and hoping for the best.
Exactly. Salary negotiation is part of the game. Be confident, be prepared, and advocate for yourself.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, wow, we've covered a ton in this deep dive.
We have.
All those tricky interview questions, all those career insights, and then, of course, how RoleCatcher's AI can help with everything.
It's all about giving you the tools to just crush that interview.
Yeah, and I feel even if you're not interviewing for this exact job, a lot of this stuff is really helpful for any kind of job search.
Oh, yeah.
So remember, this interview is just one step.
Right.
International forwarding is a huge field, tons of possibilities.
Keep learning, keep growing.
Exactly. And as you're getting ready for your interview, Think about what you really want. What are your goals? What parts of this job are you most excited about? What kind of impact do you want to make?
Those are great questions.
Yeah, I think if you figure out what you want, you're not just going to ace the interview, but you're also going to build a career that you really love.
Absolutely.
So good luck out there, everyone. And remember, you got this.